There are moments in life, quiet yet deafening, when you sense that something is not as it seems. The people around you wear familiar faces, speak familiar words, and yet there is a shadow behind their smiles, an unseen hand moving pieces behind the curtain of your life. You feel it, don't you? A lingering unease, a disturbance in your spirit. It is as if God Himself is whispering to your soul, "Be watchful, child, for not all who walk with you walk in truth." Have you ever woken up with an unexplainable heaviness, as though your heart knows a secret your mind has yet to uncover? Have you found yourself replaying conversations, noticing the small cracks in someone's words, sensing the insincerity that was once hidden by charm? This is not your imagination running wild. This is the discernment placed within you by the one who sees all, hears all, and knows all. The one who never sleeps nor slumbers. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds a soul can endure, especially when it comes clothed in friendship, family, or trusted companionship. It is not always the stranger who brings us the greatest harm, but the one we once welcomed into the innermost chambers of our hearts. They eat at our tables, laugh at our joys, and pretend to share our burdens, all while hiding the dagger behind their back, waiting for the moment of advantage. But listen closely. There is no hidden deed that escapes the eyes of heaven, no whisper in the dark that is not heard by the Almighty. Scriptures tell us, "Nothing is hidden that will not be revealed, nor secret that will not be known." These are not idle words. These are promises, divine assurances that hidden betrayals are like seeds planted in the soil. They may grow in secrecy for a season, but eventually they burst forth for all to see. You may feel right now that you are entangled in confusion, unsure of who is genuine and who is false. Perhaps you have questioned your own judgment, doubted your instincts, or silenced your suspicions for fear of seeming unkind or paranoid. But God, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, does not leave His faithful children blind. He begins to reveal signs, gentle at first, like whispers carried on the wind, and then louder, like thunder shaking the ground beneath your feet. It is in His perfect timing that the masks will fall. Those who plotted in secret will be exposed beneath the weight of their own deception. And when this happens, you will not need to lift a finger in vengeance, for the justice of heaven is both precise and unavoidable. Your role is not to chase down the betrayer, but to stay close to the heart of God, who is already preparing the unveiling. Now, you might wonder, how will I know when this divine exposure is near? What signs will tell me that the hidden betrayal is about to be revealed? These questions are not born of fear, but of wisdom. They show your heart's desire to remain vigilant and anchored in truth. And today, I will guide you through these signs so that you may walk forward not in anxiety, but in holy expectation. Let us now open our eyes, sharpen our senses, and prepare our hearts. For here are the 7 signs that God is about to expose a hidden betrayal in your life, an unshakable restlessness in your spirit. There are moments in your life when your surroundings seem ordinary, your days unfold as they always have, and yet something deep within you refuses to rest. You can be sitting quietly, working, talking, even laughing, but your spirit trembles with an invisible ache. It's not anxiety, it's not fear. It's something deeper. It's as if God has placed a quiet drum inside your chest, and it's beating louder each day, warning you of something your eyes have not yet seen. You try to dismiss it. You tell yourself you're overthinking. You've been through pain before, and you've learned to survive. So maybe this is just old wounds playing tricks on your peace. But no matter how much logic you apply, the unrest remains. It wakes you at night. It pulls your attention when someone speaks. It whispers during your moments of stillness. It doesn't go away because it's not supposed to. This is not paranoia, it's preparation. You begin to notice that you can no longer ignore the energy when certain people enter a room. Their presence once brought comfort, or at least normalcy, but now there's tension. Your soul recoils, not from a place of judgment. The same person who once made you feel secure now feels like a stranger. You hear their voice, but the words fall flat. You see their smile, but it no longer reaches their eyes. The shift is spiritual, and your heart can feel what your mind cannot explain. This is how God begins his work of revelation, not through fireworks, not through chaos, but through a gentle discontent that refuses to leave. It is his way of turning your gaze toward the hidden, urging you to question what you've accepted without doubt. It is the divine alarm that says, pay attention. What you see is not what's true. What you feel is the beginning of truth. God is stirring your spirit because he's about to show you something that has been carefully hidden behind layers of performance and pretend loyalty. The restlessness intensifies when you're near the one who has betrayed you. You notice the way they glance sideways when you speak of your blessings. You notice how they rush to know your plans, but hesitate to support your steps. You feel their silence when they should have cheered, their absence when they should have stood by you. And though nothing has been confirmed, your spirit testifies loudly, something is not right. God never leaves his children unaware when danger is near. The unease is not to torment you, but to awaken you. He does not want you to walk blindfolded into the arms of a Judas. He is training your soul to listen, to look beneath the surface, to recognize that the betrayal isn't coming, it has already begun. The restlessness is God's invitation to draw closer to him, to seek his wisdom, to open your eyes before your heart is shattered. You may feel isolated in this stirring, as if no one else sees what you see or feels what you feel. But this loneliness is sacred. It is in this solitude that God speaks the loudest. When he begins to expose betrayal, he starts by preparing your heart. And that preparation often looks like restless nights, troubled thoughts, and questions that won't sit still. Not because you're weak, but because you're being positioned to see what others will miss. So don't ignore the discomfort. Don't numb it. Don't silence it just because you crave peace. Sometimes, that lack of peace is the very proof that God is pulling back the curtain. Stay alert. Stay prayerful. The restlessness in your spirit is not random. It is the first knock of divine exposure at your door. The betrayer begins to slip in their deception. For a time, deception wears its mask flawlessly. The betrayer rehearses every word, calculates every gesture, and wears their false loyalty like a polished armor. But lies are heavy, masks grow suffocating, and no matter how skilled the deceiver, time has a way of unveiling what was never meant to last. What once seemed like perfect friendship, family closeness, or support begins to show thin cracks. And if your eyes are open, if your spirit is tuned, you'll begin to see them unravel. It starts small, a word spoken out of place, a contradiction in a story they once told with certainty. You notice them fumbling to explain something they used to share effortlessly. They're irritated when you ask too many questions, suddenly defensive over simple things. Their gaze doesn't hold yours as it used to. Their energy is off, their timing strange. These aren't just coincidences, these are signs. God does not allow deceit to go unchecked forever. When someone is walking in hidden betrayal against you, his grace, yes, even his grace, will slowly withdraw its cover from their lies. They begin to forget their own fabrications. They become careless. They say one thing and weeks later say another. But here's what's beautiful. You remember. Not because you're obsessed with catching them, but because the truth always echoes in the soul of the innocent. The deceiver's biggest mistake is underestimating your memory, your spirit, and your quiet attention. They think they're smarter. They think they've convinced you. They've grown so comfortable in their illusion that they forget God is not mocked. And you are not naive, you are chosen. And God always reveals betrayal to his chosen ones. Not all at once, but in moments that build like a storm. Their behaviors start to betray their intentions. The way they speak about you when they think you're not listening. The way they celebrate others but hesitate when you rise. The way they show up for public praise but disappear in private pain. The inconsistency between who they are when others are watching and who they are when it's just you. Slowly, steadily, their deception begins to rot from the inside. And here's what's powerful. You don't have to confront them. You don't have to force the truth out of their mouth. Their own actions will begin to speak louder than any accusation you could make. God will let them trip over their own lies. And when they fall, it won't be your hands that expose them. It will be truth itself. It will be their own tongue that condemns them. Their own inconsistency that shows their betrayal. This slipping isn't just God's justice, it's his mercy to you. It's him saying, look closer, child. You deserve to walk with those who walk in truth. The unraveling of deception is painful to witness, especially when it's someone you loved, someone you trusted. But it is necessary. You cannot move forward shackled to falsehood. God loves you too much to let you keep dancing with someone who secretly wishes to see you fall. And as their deception collapses, your clarity will rise. You'll look back and see every ignored instinct, every moment that didn't sit right, and it will make sense. The betrayal will no longer be hidden. It will stand exposed, not by your doing, but by divine design. And when that moment comes, your spirit will finally rest, not because the pain is gone, but because the truth has been set free. You start to receive unexpected confirmations. There comes a moment in your silent prayers when you feel as though your heart is desperately crying for clarity. You don't know how, but you ache for confirmation. You are tired of the guessing game, weary from the burden of your suspicions, and just when you feel at the edge of weariness, God begins to send you unexpected signs, like scattered breadcrumbs leading you to the truth that was hidden in shadows. It may start in the simplest way, a conversation overheard that stops you in your tracks, words that eerily align with what you have been feeling deep inside. You were not even looking for it, yet it arrives, as if heaven orchestrated the moment precisely for your hearing. These are not accidents. These are divine appointments, moments crafted by God to lift the veil and allow you to see more clearly than before. Perhaps you find yourself stumbling upon messages, notes, or fragments of communication that reveal far more than intended. Or maybe someone, without knowing your struggle, comes to you and speaks words that strike directly at your heart, awakening you to a truth you tried to deny. They may mention a concern, a suspicion, or even a dream they had about the very person you've questioned in silence. And in that moment you feel it in your bones. You understand that God is speaking through others to confirm what your soul already sensed. Sometimes it is not words at all, but circumstances that align so strangely that you cannot help but take notice. Plans fall apart that once seemed secure, exposing hidden motives. The betrayer's mask slips further because the situation forces their hand. Unexpected delays, changes, or meetings uncover their true intentions. What seem to be unrelated events start forming a pattern too clear to ignore. You must understand, this is not coincidence. This is the divine hand of God at work. Scripture reminds us that everything done in secret will be shouted from the rooftops. But before the full exposure, God, in His mercy, gives you gentle confirmations along the way, so you are prepared. He ensures you are not caught off guard, that you do not second-guess yourself when the full truth is finally revealed. These confirmations serve not only to expose the betrayer, but to strengthen your trust in God's guidance. Every time you receive one, your faith is deepened. You begin to see that you are not walking this painful path alone. God walks beside you, pointing out the traps, illuminating the dangers, and showing you that your prayers have been heard, and with each confirmation your courage grows. You stop questioning your own discernment. You start to embrace the quiet knowing within you, realizing that God has been equipping you all along. You no longer brush aside the signs, no longer silence your intuition to preserve false peace. Instead, you listen attentively, knowing that these revelations are not to break you, but to free you. The power of these confirmations lies in their unexpected nature. They arrive when you least expect them, but most need them. They pierce through the fog of confusion and bring clarity where there was once doubt. They are like gentle taps on your shoulder from heaven itself, urging you to see what you have been afraid to see. You're so unhappy. Why did you think you were unhappy when you were happy? And as they accumulate, a picture begins to form, undeniable and clear. You realize that you were never blind. You were never foolish. You were waiting for heaven's timing. And now, piece by piece, God is giving you the confirmation you need to step forward with confidence, knowing the truth is unfolding exactly as it should. Your prayers become heavy and focused on discernment. There is something profoundly spiritual about the way your prayers begin to change when betrayal lurks in hidden corners of your life. You may not even notice it at first. Perhaps you started with prayers for general protection, prayers of gratitude, prayers for strength to carry on through daily life. But slowly, almost without your awareness, your words begin to shift. You find yourself asking for clarity, for divine eyes to see what human eyes cannot, for the veil of deceit to be torn away. This is not by accident. It is the Holy Spirit moving within you, stirring your heart to seek what lies beneath the surface. Your soul knows something your mind has not yet fully grasped. You feel an increasing weight in your prayers, an urgency that compels you to fall to your knees, to cry out to heaven, not for revenge, but for revelation. You begin to plead, not with bitterness, but with a deep longing to know the truth. And as you pray, you feel the heaviness settle in your chest, a mixture of fear, sadness, and anticipation. You sense that something is near, something just out of reach, waiting to be brought into the light. Your spirit is no longer content with surface-level petitions. You are drawn into the depths of communion with God, seeking answers only He can provide. What is beautiful about this shift is that it marks the beginning of divine intervention. When your prayers turn from routine to revelation, it signals that heaven is already moving on your behalf. God is drawing you closer, not to burden you, but to prepare you for what is to come. He is aligning your heart with His purpose, ensuring that when the exposure happens, you will be ready not just to witness it, but to withstand it. As your prayers intensify, you may find yourself awakened in the night, burdened to pray without knowing why. You may feel a sudden need to intercede, to speak words that rise from the depths of your soul rather than your mind. You begin to pray not only for discernment, but for protection, for wisdom, for the courage to face whatever truth is revealed. These prayers are not empty, they are powerful. Heaven listens to the cries of the righteous, especially when those cries come from a place of genuine seeking. Your heavy prayers are like incense rising before the throne of God, and He is not deaf to your desperation. In fact, it is often in these moments of weighted prayer that the first movements of exposure begin to unfold. You may notice that as your prayers become more focused, your spiritual sensitivity heightens. You pick up on things you would have once overlooked. Conversations that seemed normal suddenly feel off. Situations that seemed innocent now carry a deeper meaning. God sharpens your senses because you have sought Him with sincerity. And as you continue to pray, you find that your heart is being fortified. What once caused fear now ignites faith. What once felt like a burden becomes a battle you are prepared to face, knowing that victory belongs to the Lord. Your prayers are not simply requests, they are declarations of trust, acts of spiritual warfare, weapons against the darkness of hidden betrayal. These heavy, focused prayers become your lifeline, your connection to the divine strategy unfolding in your life. They remind you that you are not helpless, that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are a beloved child of God, guided by His hand, protected by His presence, and sustained by His presence. And as you continue to seek Him with all your heart, you will see the answers unfold, one by one, in His perfect time. God removes His protection from their schemes. For a time it may appear as though those who have plotted against you move with a kind of effortless confidence. Their words flow smoothly, their plans unfold without resistance, and their schemes seem shielded by an invisible hand. It can feel frustrating to witness, as if their deceit is rewarded while your sincerity is met with silence. You wonder how it is that they continue without consequence, weaving their webs of lies and walking boldly through doors that seem to open without struggle. But what they do not see, and what you must understand, is that even in their false victories, they are operating under the temporary allowance of heaven. God, in His infinite patience, permits certain things to unfold, not because He condones them, but because He is orchestrating something far greater than they could ever perceive. His delay is not denial, it is divine strategy. He allows the deceiver just enough rope, not to bless their betrayal, but to ensure they weave their own downfall with every step they take. And then, almost without warning, something shifts. The covering that once seemed to shield their actions is quietly removed. The favor they once enjoyed begins to fade. The ease with which they carried out their plans is replaced by stumbling and confusion. They find that what once worked flawlessly now unravels at their feet. Their confidence begins to crumble, and frustration seeps into their every move. They may not immediately recognize what is happening, but you, watching with spiritual eyes, will see it clearly. This is not mere coincidence. This is the hand of God at work. He is withdrawing His mercy from their deception, allowing their plans to collapse under the weight of their own corruption. Without His protection, even their most calculated strategies fall apart. Opportunities they thought were certain slip through their fingers. Alliances they trusted betray them in return. The very tools they used against you begin to turn against them, as if guided by an unseen force determined to expose the truth. And as their schemes unravel, you will notice something remarkable. You will see how deeply they depended on God's hidden patience all along, even in their rebellion. They believed they were moving in their own strength, crafting their own destiny, but in reality, they were unknowingly sustained by the mercy of the one they dishonored. Nevertheless, once that mercy is removed, their vulnerability is laid bare for all to see. There is a deep spiritual lesson in this moment. You come to realize that God's timing is perfect. His protection is not only a shield for the righteous, but a temporary covering even for the wicked until the appointed time of revelation arrives. When that time comes, no power on earth can sustain their schemes. No alliance, no cunning, no falsehood can prop them up when heaven decides to remove its hand. As you witness this, you may feel a mix of emotions: relief, sorrow, perhaps even astonishment. You see them struggle in the very traps they set for you. You watch as the web they wove entangles their own feet. And though your heart is heavy with the pain of betrayal, there is also a quiet reassurance that justice is unfolding before your eyes. What once was hidden beneath the illusion of success becomes exposed by the absence of divine covering. Their downfall is not by your doing, but by the sovereign hand of God Himself, moving in perfect justice. This moment serves as a powerful reminder that no deception can thrive indefinitely, not when heaven has determined its end. And as you stand in this awareness, your heart begins to find rest, knowing that the God who sees all has finally chosen to act. People around you begin to notice their true nature. There comes a time, after you have wrestled silently with the growing unease in your spirit, when the exposure does not happen in isolation. It begins to reach the eyes and hearts of others around you. What was once your private burden starts to echo in the minds of those close to you, even in the minds of those who were once blind to the truth. Without you needing to say a word, they begin to sense it. They notice the same inconsistencies, feel the same disturbances, and observe the small fractures in the betrayer's mask that you have long carried in silence. It is a mysterious and almost sacred shift. Where once you felt alone in your discernment, isolated in your suspicions, now there is a quiet awakening around you. Friends who never questioned their loyalty begin to raise subtle concerns. Family members who once praised them start to feel an uneasy tension in their presence. Even casual acquaintances pick up on the dissonance between their outward charm and the hidden darkness of their intentions. This is not by chance. This is not gossip or suspicion fueled by emotion. It is God, in His divine orchestration, widening the circle of revelation. He allows the eyes of others to open so that the burden you carried alone is now shared by many witnesses. He moves through conversations, through observations, through the natural unfolding of events, until the truth becomes undeniable. And there is a certain relief in this, isn't there? To know you were not imagining things, to see others now sensing what you have long felt, to watch their eyes widen in realization, confirming the quiet pain you carried in solitude. What is remarkable about this moment is the way it unfolds. Gently, at first. People may start with soft remarks. Have you noticed how they've changed? Or, something about them doesn't feel right anymore. These comments come like gentle waves, reassuring you that you were never truly alone in your perception. And as time passes, these observations grow bolder, clearer, and more direct, until the conversation shifts from uncertain whispers to confident affirmations of truth. The betrayer, unaware of this growing clarity around them, continues their performance, believing their facade remains intact. But you, with growing strength, recognize the beauty of what is happening. God is lifting the veil not just for you, but for the world to see. He is ensuring that no one can accuse you of overreacting, that no one can dismiss your discernment as mere suspicion. He is providing witnesses, voices that validate the reality of the betrayal, so you no longer bear this weight alone. And as more people see the truth, you will notice how the betrayer begins to feel the walls close in. They sense the shift in perception. They feel the discomfort of eyes that no longer look upon them with blind trust, but with cautious scrutiny. Their charm, once so effective, begins to lose its power. Their words, once persuasive, fall flat. They scramble to maintain control, to rebuild the crumbling facade, but it is too late. The truth has found its way into the light, and no human effort can conceal it once God has decided to reveal it. There is also a deeper purpose in this communal awakening. God is not merely exposing the betrayer for your sake alone. He is protecting the community. He is safeguarding others from falling into the same trap, from being wounded by the same hands that tried to harm you. In His justice, He ensures that the ripple of revelation spreads outward, covering not just you, but those you care about, those who might have been next in line for the same betrayal. This moment is powerful because it transforms your private pain into public awareness. What once was your silent struggle becomes a shared understanding. You no longer have to explain yourself, defend your discernment, or prove the reality of your experience. Others now see it too. They carry the weight of recognition alongside you, and in their acknowledgement you find strength. As their true nature becomes visible to more people, you will witness a shift in the atmosphere. Respect that was once given freely begins to retreat. Trust that once flowed effortlessly begins to dry up. Opportunities that once welcomed them start to close their doors. And through it all, you remain grounded, knowing that God Himself has opened the eyes of others to protect you, to vindicate you, and to bring to light what was once hidden in the shadows. A divine moment of unveiling arrives swiftly. There is a moment in every hidden betrayal when heaven decides that the time for whispers has ended. It is not a slow trickle of revelation anymore. It is a sudden downpour. You feel it in your bones before it happens, as though the atmosphere around you changes. There's a weight in the air, thick and undeniable. What was once concealed begins to burst forth, not in pieces, but in a complete unveiling that leaves no doubt, no question, no room for denial. This moment arrives with a speed that almost catches you by surprise. For so long you waited, you questioned, you carried silent burdens, wondering when justice would rise, when the mask of deceit would fall from the face of the betrayer. You had endured sleepless nights filled with prayers, days clouded by confusion, and countless moments when you doubted whether the truth would ever surface. And then, just like the breaking of dawn after the longest night, everything comes to light. It happens in ways you never expected. A conversation reaches your ears not by accident but by divine appointment. A message meant to remain hidden finds its way to you. Someone steps forward, compelled by a force greater than themselves, and reveals what they know. Pieces of information, scattered like puzzle fragments, come together in perfect clarity, and you stand there, heart pounding, breath caught between fear and relief. As the truth unfolds before your very eyes, you realize in that moment that this is not coincidence. This is God acting with precision. He has waited until the appointed time, until all the evidence has aligned, until the witnesses are prepared, until your spirit is strong enough to bear the full weight of the revelation. And when He moves swiftly, like a mighty wind sweeping away the fog that once clouded your vision. What makes this unveiling so powerful is its undeniability. No longer is it just your word against theirs. No longer is it buried in ambiguity or dismissed as suspicion. The truth stands on its own, undeniable and irrefutable. Even the betrayer, caught in their own web of lies, struggles to explain away the clarity of what has been exposed. Their excuses falter, their defenses crumble. The light of truth is too bright, too fierce to be ignored. In this divine moment, you feel the weight lift from your shoulders. The burden of doubt that pressed upon your heart begins to dissolve. You understand that God, in His perfect justice, has not forgotten you. He saw every hidden act, heard every secret conversation, and counted every tear you shed in silence. He allowed the deception to run its course, only so that its fall would be complete, and its exposure undeniable. The swiftness of this moment carries a message of divine power. It reminds you that when God decides to act, no force in heaven or earth can delay Him. His justice does not stumble, His timing does not falter. He is never too early, never too late. When the unveiling arrives, it sweeps through every layer of falsehood, tearing down walls that were built to keep the truth hidden. And as it happens, you witness the fulfillment of every prayer you cried out in your darkest hours. You watch as the betrayer stands exposed, their plans unraveled, their facade shattered. The very lies they wove now stand as evidence against them. You see the faces of those around you change. Eyes once filled with doubt, now filled with realization. Voices once silent, now echoing the truth you always knew but could not prove. And in that moment, a strange stillness settles over you. Not the stillness of defeat, but the stillness of divine justice fulfilled. This swift unveiling serves as a testimony not just to you, but to all who doubted. It is heaven's declaration that truth cannot be buried forever, that no betrayal remains hidden when God decides it is time for it to be revealed. It is a reminder that while man may plot in darkness, God sees in perfect light. He allows the stage to be set, the players to act their parts, only so that when he pulls back the curtain, all will see the full story for what it is. And as you witness this moment unfold, your heart begins to understand the depth of God's protection over you. The exposure is not merely about justice, it is about liberation. It is about freeing you from the chains of uncertainty, from the grip of silent suffering, and from the shadows of hidden deceit. It is the final, undeniable sign that God Himself has stepped into your situation, and nothing can stand against His truth. Now that you have seen these signs unfold, perhaps you realize something profound, that none of this is random. None of these feelings, none of these confirmations, none of these divine movements in your life are accidents. They are the careful, intentional work of a God who sees the end from the beginning. A God who has been quietly, faithfully walking beside you, even when you felt most abandoned, even when you questioned if your pain would ever find justice. Understand this: God has been with you in the shadows. Long before the exposure came to light, He saw your sleepless nights, heard your silent cries, and counted every tear you thought went unnoticed. He allowed you to feel the restlessness in your spirit, not to torment you, but to awaken you. He permitted the betrayer's mask to slip, not to terrify you, but to prepare you. He sent you unexpected confirmations, not to confuse you, but to strengthen your faith. He pulled back His protection from their schemes, not to leave you vulnerable, but to reveal that your true shelter has always been in Him. And when others around you began to notice, when eyes once blind opened to the reality of your pain, God was expanding the circle of truth. He was gathering witnesses, building a testimony so that no tongue could rise against you without being silenced by the evidence of divine revelation. He was ensuring that you would never have to fight this battle alone, because heaven itself fights for you. Then, in His perfect timing, He moved swiftly. He stepped in with the full weight of His justice, tearing down the veil of deception and exposing every hidden betrayal. What you carried in secret, He displayed in the open. What you questioned in the dark, He confirmed in the light. And in doing so, He delivered not only justice, but freedom. Freedom from doubt, freedom from fear, freedom from the weight of hidden wounds. You must know deeply and unshakably that God is not only the revealer of betrayal, but the restorer of broken hearts. He does not expose just to punish the wrongdoer. He exposes to heal the wounded. He pulls back the curtain not only to bring justice, but to bring you peace, so you can finally breathe again, so you can finally walk without the heaviness of suspicion, so you can finally rise from the ashes of betrayal and step into the life that was always meant for you. A life led not by fear, but by faith. As you carry this message in your heart, remember, you were never abandoned. You were never overlooked. Heaven's justice is sure. God's timing is perfect. His eyes never left you, not for a single moment. And when the moment of unveiling came, it came not a second too late, but exactly when it needed to. Trust that. Hold on to that. Let it be the anchor for your soul. Because even now, as you listen to these words, heaven continues to work, God continues to move, and the justice He has begun in your life, He will see through to completion. What they thought they buried, God is resurrecting. What they thought they hid, God is revealing. What they thought they destroyed, God is restoring with greater glory than before. You are not the victim of their betrayal, You are the victor of God's justice.